Hi, my loves. This is Isabella Sanfilippo coming at you from WCHS, and you're listening to the I Love You podcast. Happy belated Easter! So, here we are at another holiday, sitting at the table. There's some mashed potatoes, bread rolls, turkey, ham, green beans, mac and cheese. My family is very Italian, so there is definitely a lasagna or some sort of baked ziti. The nice plates and the napkins come out of hibernation. It's a really nice dinner, but then suddenly that one family member decides to bring up a controversial topic. And now your peaceful Easter dinner is not so peaceful anymore. There are many people we come across in our lives that we can label as difficult. It could be someone in your family. It could be Lorelai Gilmore from Gilmore Girls. But there are plenty of people. I think a lot of that might be attributed to the fact that these people don't really grow up or change, which I do have an episode about. And I thought it was a very good one, so go check that out if you would like. But yeah, I mean, we all know those people in our lives that are difficult. We have those family members that decide to bring up touchy topics at the Easter dinner table or Thanksgiving dinner table or whatever holiday you celebrate, but we come across these people every day. At our workplaces, school, family, I just gave a bunch of family examples, but difficult people are everywhere, and I think that it's a very important life skill to have to know how to deal with difficult people, especially from a young age. Because we're told that if someone's like rude or mean to us in high school, it's okay because they'll grow out of it, and you won't have to deal with that once you get out of high school, but that's not true. There are going to be difficult people in your workplace. There's going to be people who are gossips everywhere you go. There's going to always be difficult people. It's not just a high school thing. I mean, maybe in high school it is more amplified because your feelings are heightened and people will just care more about your business because they don't really have lives as exciting as the people they're talking about. But there's going to be difficult people anywhere you go, and that's the truth of it. And it might not even be the people you work with, but also the people you're trying to help, like your clients. And I think that there's also a couple types of being difficult. There's the people who are difficult just because they're kind of extra, and that's not a bad thing, and I would never say that someone is too much because I know I can be too much sometimes, but it's the people who make their personalities and their like beliefs and opinions your business. And I mean, it's totally fine if like something like really good just happened to you, like you just got accepted into like your top college and you're running around screaming like, I got in. Like, of course you're going to be over the moon ecstatic and happy. Like these people like are fine, like something really great just happened to them. But then there's people who like if they so much as like stub their toe, they're like crying and like wailing like, oh my gosh. And I feel like in sports, like especially like you come across that. I feel like it's especially a thing with soccer. I don't really know what the whole thing is with people faking injuries in soccer, but you can like lightly tap them and then someone's like on the floor rolling around and it's like, I just tapped you, bro. Like, come on, let's get back up. But we can still love these people. We can still be friends with these people. But there does come a point where it is a bit hard to deal with them. And it's not necessarily a bad thing. It's just like a thing that happens a lot. And I feel like I talk about this a lot, but it is really a huge pet peeve of mine when people gossip. And I feel like it is especially prominent in high school. Because, you know, obviously there's going to be people who gossip. And the people who try to make your life their business. And it's just like, bro, back off. Leave me out of this. Get your name. Like, I didn't do anything to you. But, like, honestly, sometimes it is, like, kind of flattering. It's like, okay, fine, you can talk about me, like, whatever. It's giving fan behavior. And quite frankly, that's just kind of how I like to look about it now. Not that people are, like, constantly bad-mouthing me. But, I mean, there was a thing last year where someone was making fun of me for having a podcast. And it's like, okay, fan behavior. And I don't really care anymore. It's just silly things like that. And there's always just going to be people who nitpick at everything you do. And there's also going to be the people who are going to be rude to you. But then maybe they're nice to your face, but then they're talking crap behind your back. And oftentimes we think, okay, when we get out of high school, it's not going to be like that. There's not going to be fake people. There's not going to be people who pretend to be your friend because they'll just be more real, more authentic. But sometimes people don't mature. Sometimes there are people who never mature. So there are still going to be difficult people at work, in your adult friend group. And when you're older, there's still going to be all these types of difficult people. But it might actually be even worse because now they're adults and they can make decisions for themselves without the influence of a parent or someone who might want what's best for them. Then there's also the people who are just straight up rude. Honestly, I do kind of prefer the people who are just straight up rude because at least you know where you stand. Like, at least they're being honest and being real with you. Like, if someone came up to me and they were like, that's an ugly shirt. Like, thank you for your opinion, but I like this shirt. It doesn't have to be your style, but thank you for telling me, compared to as if someone was like, oh my gosh, that's such a cute shirt. It looks so great. And then they like Regina George you and they're like, that's the ugliest effing skirt I've ever seen. These people, but honestly, like, I'm not like trying to like defend these people because they're still rude and it's not great to have these people in your life. And obviously we don't want people being mean to us, but I think that something interesting with these types of people too is that they're very confrontation oriented. So if you confront them back, I think it works really well. When I was first getting into podcasting and listening to podcasts, one of the first episodes I listened to was Emma Chamberlain, and it was dealing with difficult people. And that's her episode on this topic. And she said something that was like super smart. So when you're dealing with these people, you have to kind of remind them of their humanity. So for example, if someone was to say something mean to you, just saying, why would you say that? Or that just hurt my feelings. Or sticking with the shirt example, well, okay, what don't you like about my shirt? Or just even telling them to stop, like, hey, that was mean. Why would you say that to me? It just reminds them of their humanity a little bit. And I think that what she said also does help because especially if they're confrontation oriented, they're going to respect you being confrontational back. And it's going to be really good, and it shows them that you're not just going to sit there and take it and they're not going to be able to walk all over you. And I feel like this works more for like a friend type of situation where maybe they think they're joking, but it is actually hurting your feelings. And I'm thinking of like 80s rom-com cliche where a bully is trying to beat up some kid. Obviously, if you say to a bully who just punched you in the face, hey, stop that. That's mean. They're going to be like, okay, shut up, dweeb, and they're going to keep punching you. But nowadays, that doesn't happen. People don't beat each other up with fists or their hands. They beat each other up with, like, words. So saying, why would you do that to me? I didn't take that as a joke, and that wasn't funny to me, is like the equivalent of the little nerd in the 80s rom-com turning into the Hulk and punching the other guy in the face, being like, why would you say that to me, huh? And then, okay, yeah, I really need to stop because now I'm sounding a little crazy. But basically, if you just remind them of their humanity, it helps a lot in the situation. I think that's something that's valuable. Another tip I learned is to just ignore them, which I know is super hard, but my mom has always told me if someone's being mean to me or if someone's trying to be difficult or say things behind my back, just ignore them, because if you give them attention, you're just going to feed into it more. And it's definitely hard because if you hear someone saying something mean about you, you're going to be upset, and you also might be angry, and you might want to be like, okay, why would you say that about me, and take a more aggressive approach. But that's not always the best option, because then you're giving them validation and attention, and they know they got on your nerves, and then they also know that they now have power over you, and they have the power to make you angry and frustrated and upset. So if you ignore them, it's better in the long run because it shows that they can't get to you and that their words have no impact on you. My mom has even said this to me, like, with my brother, if he's annoying me, she'll just be like, just ignore him, Isabella. Like, it's fine. Go to your room. Just separate. Mom says that a lot. She just separate. So even if you do put a little space between you and whoever this difficult person is, it could work. But sometimes that's not possible because they might be your work partner or someone you have to do a group project with. But if you're able to put that space, it could definitely help. But if not, just honestly ignore them and what they're saying, because in reality, they're just going to try to get on your nerves and be annoying, and they're not worth your time. There's also difficult people who try to make other people feel miserable, and I think those people have like the worst outlook on life. If you don't like feeling upset all the time, why would you wish that on other people and try to spread that? Oftentimes, that's what is really difficult about dealing with difficult people, because the people you're dealing with probably have an underlying issue in their personal lives, and their actions might not be excused, but you might be able to understand what they're going through, and their actions might make more sense. Because there definitely has to be some sort of reason why they're lashing out, even if it seems someone has the perfect life, they might not. And it might even be valuable to say, especially if you know this person and they're acting different as of recently, just going up to them and saying like, hey, I've noticed you've been acting differently recently. Or even giving them examples like, I know that you didn't come to this get together and I noticed that you've been more quiet recently. Or I've noticed that you've been a little bit snippy and saying things that might come off as rude. So I just wanted to check up on you and see if you're okay. Because that might be what they need. Just asking them about it could really help them. Because if they're able to confide in you and they finally have someone to open up to, it would really benefit them. And they won't feel the need to lash out anymore, and they'll feel seen, which benefits you. I think that, again, dealing with difficult people is difficult because they're difficult people. Like, I don't know, that sounds like the most stupid sentence in the world, but I mean, that is the truth of it. Personally, I've had situations with friends where they said a joke, but I didn't necessarily take it as a joke. Or if it was a joke, it wasn't super funny and it just kind of felt a little bit mean. And just saying like, hey, that kind of hurt my feelings, or that wasn't really that funny, definitely helped and brought boundaries to relationships. And I think it's really necessary to have boundaries when it comes to friendships and also when it comes to relationships too, because you never really know what those boundaries are until you set them. So I think that it's really valuable, even if you're having a situation and you're not really in a fight and you don't want to be in a fight, but you do want your friend to know that they are hurting your feelings. Just having an honest conversation with them, I feel like, can accomplish this. And I feel like every episode I always talk about either honesty or communications, but that is the stuff I live by. Like, again, with this shirt example, like, if I had an ugly shirt on, I'd want someone to tell me so I wasn't walking around with an ugly shirt on. And being able to talk things out and being brutally honest is so important. And I think that sugarcoating things is sometimes stupid because there's no need for sugarcoating, and people will appreciate your honesty more, or at least I know that I would. So my advice for anyone dealing with difficult people is, honestly, I could probably make a part 2 because I feel like there's just a lot that went unsaid. But if you are dealing with difficult people, and there's so many types of different people, there's gossips, there's people who just never really grew up, there's people who are straight up mean, there's people who are acting out as of recently. But learning how to deal with all these people is by far one of the most important skills that life has to offer. And we can deal with them by ignoring them. We can deal with them by reminding them of their humanity. We can deal with them in a lot of different ways. And each situation is different. And there's some that you have to handle with really delicate care, especially if you're friends with them, because you don't want to hurt their feelings, but then they're also hurting your feelings. And then you don't want that to continue. So just proceed with caution and always prioritize yourself. You first, girl. And I think that's all the advice I have for today. Thank you for listening to the I Love You podcast. I'm your host, Isabella Sanfilippo, and remember, I love you.